Hey. Oh. Oh, 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 oh no, no, oh no, no, no! Oh, what happened? Oh, I must have had a nightmare. It was just awful. It was just scary. But what's even more scary is the 3D conversion of House on Haunted Hill with the Vincent Price. Co-produced by Andrew Murchie, either in Scotland or England through Kickstarters. And I'm going to show you it. Before December, I had invested in Kickstarters with Andrew Murchie and his team in England or Scotland to convert House on Haunted Hill in 3D. And they showed some scenes from it, and it was just amazing. It was just totally amazing. And I'll show you what I got on this. First of all, you have this information, and it contains a Q code for the digital version of Emergo. Now, after I discuss the film, I got to tell you my experience with it, and you use your iPhone. Or, this is where the and then it comes a pair of anaglyph glasses, because it comes in two versions, the digital and anaglyphic. And since it's black and white, you don't really have to worry about anaglyph messing up the color. Of course, if you're a 3D fan, you have no choice. What can you do? And here's another Q code that's supposed to turn on the Emergo that's built in the movie, and your pair of 3D glasses. And here's more information with the poster. See? And here's how it reads quickly. House on Haunted Hill Blu-ray content. Available here for the first time in horrifying stereoscopic 3D. See this film in its whole new dimension. Face your fears as terror reaches beyond the screen with the exclusive revolutionary Emergo 4D technology. Released in 1959. House on Haunted Hill is a classic horror feature directed by William Castle, starring the horror maestro Vincent Price as Frederick Lauren and Carol O'Mart and his wife Annabelle. Blu-ray content disc 1. 3D film, feature commentary, Alex interview, 3D trailers, 3D disc 2, 3D anaglyphic, 2D HO in depth. Special thanks, Victoria and Vincent Price Legacy. Victoria Price and Vincent Price Legacy. Bob Furmanek, Peter Rubel, Mike Tully, Gary Fox, and John Cozell of Granny Creech Radio Spot, Crypt, Anthony's Naples, Jonathan Saver Variety Films, thank goodness, Ian Campbell's, all our Kickstarter backers, including me, and all our social media supporters, AOP Wise partners pulling with us. Now, as with the other Kickstarter things that I got involved in, the last one, Bob Furmanek, well, they didn't put our names down. And I suspect, you know, traditionally they always put the backers' names, but I suspect there were so many people and it cost to add more to the credit titles that it probably would have taken too long. So it's just as well. I'm not being egotistical, but we contribute to it. Now I've seen House on Haunted Hill thousands and thousands of times. The first time it was at the old Popeyes Buddy Club in Texarkana, Texas, at the old Paramount, which today survives as an arts and entertainment center. Now, from what I remember clearly, because I can remember clearly all the movies I've seen as a little kid, there was no cardboard skeleton coming out. I didn't see that at all. They didn't use a Murgo in the Popeye Buddy Club thing. Now, Andrew Murchie had an American associate to convert House on Haunted Hill in 3D. One of those people that was at that I mentioned, and it was Deep Studios, and it was the process called AIP Pop 3D. But I think that's the anaglyphic. And how was it? It was great. It was excellent. It just was. Now they did a conversion called, I think it was Nightmare Castle. And compared to House on Haunted Hill, it was pretty fair. But House on Haunted Hill was best. It's if William Castle actually was shooting the 3D. I mean, he had it 3D in mind. All the sets were, look, they were just made that way. For example, when Richard Long and Carolyn Craig was exploring the house, Richard Long got trapped. And all of a sudden, the old maid, played by Leona Ames, showed up. And of course, she was older by that time, but all that makeup she has turns out to be she was the blind woman of the people who take care of that house. But Craig didn't understand, and they might have been part of the game. Of course, Carolyn Craig got scared and screamed, but boy, seeing that face in 3D, boy, it really frightened me. Boy, it just made me jump, like Friday the 13th Part 3 as well as the 2D movies. And then there's Alicia Cook and his character who believes the house is haunted. And yet, there's no ghost in it at all. And today, after so many years, especially converted into 3D, House on Haunted Hill still gives me the shivers. And another scene where Julie Mitchum, Robert Mitchum's sister, older sister, plays the reporter who wants that gambling money so bad. She needs $10,000 for gambling money. The scene where she puts her hand out and it drips in rust disguised in blood in black and white. It is so more effective in 3D. But good God, just looking at it in 2D sends me to shivers. I mean, and in the beginning, when they go into the haunted house, that scene where the chandelier almost falls and hits Carolyn Craig until Richard Long rescues her. Boy, was that so effective in 3D. And do you know that I found out through the comments that they shot the exteriors of the haunted house at a modern looking mansion that had some kind of Mayan look, and then of course everything inside was the studios, and it was disguised as an old-fashioned haunted house. Now what's really intriguing is Vincent Price's character. He's a jealous man. He's jealous at his wife, played by Carol Omart, who has this negative, demonic, ethereal look, the way they set her up. But it turns out that she and Alan Marshall, who you see rarely without his mustache, a lot older, have something together, but at the moment it isn't very clear. Now, Vincent Price, who rents this old haunted house that seems to have a modern Mayan decor look, was that house designed originally by Anne Baxter's father? Frank Lloyd Wright? I don't know. He offers everybody $10,000, everybody, to have to stay one night in the house, all night long. And they're given party favors, these guns that come out of these mini coffins. And the 3D effects for this gun are so effective. What has intrigued me for so many years and obsessed me in the part of House on Haunted Hill, which I almost got confused with House of Wax, was the rope scene. The scene where all of a sudden Carol Omar hangs herself, and Alan Marshall and Richard Long finds it. They don't know what the hell's going wrong, and everybody's suspicious, including Vincent Price, who tries to fight he's innocent, but you can't be too sure about that. And all of a sudden, as Carolyn Craig is hiding in her room, she goes out, and it's storming already, and all of a sudden out comes the rope scene, where for a few seconds you see a hanged version of Omar, and the rope scene is going around Carolyn Craig's foot, her shoes, and the effects was very, very creepy and would frighten me. But in 3D, that rope scene was so effective. Now, I'll tell you honestly what didn't work for me. It might have worked for the other people, but it didn't work for me. It was the electronic version of Emergo. The idea was, and if you can see right here, I've already clicked it. You scan the code here. You scan the code here, and it gets here, and then you click it, and it says and I press just once and it goes around because it's loading in. See, it's the camera, but it's loading in, and you see it goes like this. Now the idea is that you see in the few minutes with the skeleton coming up through your Android. But guess what? The distance between this big screen through the Android was even further, and worser, it was washed out. You could barely see the images. As a result, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me at all. And because the screen was reflected, I tried the anaglyph version on my computer internet. It still didn't work. I even used my projection on the wall in a non-reflective screen, and it still was washed out, and it still didn't work. It was far more effective to see the skeleton coming out in its converted 3D directly. Far better, at least from my experience. I don't know how your experience was, but in my experience, it was pretty bad. The only great thing about this film was basically to see 3D, but the Emergo just didn't work. But for those who are thinking of buying it, don't let that bother you. The 3D is great. The 3D is great. And they are selling it on the website. You have to look it up. I found out when they were selling it, but you'll have to look it up yourself, and it's up to you. But if you try the Emergo and it works for you, great. But even with the walls, and maybe because the paint that was being used is green tinted walls, I project my 3D stuff. Maybe because it was reflecting, I don't know, it just didn't work. And the images was too small through your Android to take a notice. But that was the only down thing on it. Once again, the movie was excellent in the 3D conversion. I want to thank that guy in the United States and Andrew Murchie and all the other people who converted it. it was worthy of the 3D conversion, as if William Castle had 3D in mind. Of course, this is probably good normal 2D photography, close-up, medium shots and distance, and the 3D just got the 3D versions of it. And it was just totally excellent. And in part 2, the American side shows what he had to do to improve the 3D, to make it better. And he was expressing how it took him such a long time. And then there's the 3D interview of Andrew Murchie with the American creator. I keep forgetting his name. And it was in 3D, back and forth. And he said how his favorite movie he'd love to convert would be The Sound of Music. Yes, Sound of Music and converted 3D. That's not a bad idea. How about a 3D conversion of Mary Poppins? Oh, that has a lot of 3D potential. And he wasn't talking about the 1950s 3D stuff. I suspect he was more of a fan of the modern conversions. Like, he's talking about the first Jurassic Park conversion and the Titanic conversion. But as you know, I have some modern 3D conversion movies, but I also have the classics I've been collecting. So, all in all, this total movie with this and the information, the 3D glasses, and the protection cover, which is more of the Q code, was absolutely good. And it was worth investing, and I think they do sell it still. If you're interested in getting it, you'd have to look it up yourself. So if you did like this show, and please comment and like, and maybe subscribe. Or if you don't like it, criticize me, insult me. I can put up with it. You can't hurt my feelings. I've been insulted the worst in the past. So if you want to insult it, go ahead. If you want to comment it, it's up to you. Bye.